Hello and welcome to ARK, the complete series. Well, we're in another cave. This time it's the actual one for the Desert Titan. I've just had to get Foxy out because for some strange reason I thought I wouldn't need it, but I do. I actually need it once we actually get teleported out of here. It's a case of, we're actually in here to take on the Desert Titan. We're going to actually tame it this time. If we have a look in here for the tributes, you've got the artifact, which is just across the chasm over there. Then we've got our corrupted hearts, easy enough to get from the Gigas, the Rexes, for example, over in the Forbidden Zone. And you'll also find a lot of these Wyverns over there as well, and the respawn rate's just crazy, so it's not too difficult to get them. And then when it comes to the Sarkos, well, there's plenty of Sarkos, usually over in the eastern portion of the sanctuary area. There's a lot of Megalania as well, and Capros. But yeah, you can find some Sarkos over there. So we're going to get this one started. Hopefully it'll go a lot better than my previous attempt because, well, I spent about 4 hours trying to tame this thing and it just didn't go to plan. I don't know whether it was just bad luck or whether the mechanics had changed or what. It was just really weird. I was really struggling to take out the third node for some strange reason. So the idea is, we've got this Desert Titan and it's got 3 nodes. You have to open them up with lightning. That's one of its attacks, is actually lightning. So whenever you get a lightning attack, the idea is... Oh no. Ow, ow, ow. Whoa, 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 whoa. Go away. Will you go away? Shoot. Tell you what then. That's one way of doing it. Yeah, there's oh, if I can just get around this. There's 3 nodes. But in order to open up those nodes, you've actually got to use its own lightning against it. So it's kind of tricky in the sense that if the node doesn't get hit, then the actual node closes. If you do damage somewhere else. Oh, I think we really went too far there. So it can be a bit of a pain when it comes to the third node, because what I've found is with that, after about the second node, when you get around to doing the second node, it starts. I don't want you to follow me. When you get around to doing the second node, it then starts doing tail swipes. So unfortunately, it actually starts doing damage to itself with its tail, and they become a lot more frequent when you're up to the third node. So the problem is, even if you can get the node opened up with the lightning strike, the problem is it's going to then close it with its own tail, and I was really struggling to find a way to get around that. Now I did find what seemed to kind of work, but I'm going to try that again just to see, because it does stop now and again, and it just stays still for a while, but that becomes less frequent once you're on the final node. So there's like one on the left wing, one on the right wing, and one on the tail, if you will, where the tail meets the rest of the body. But yeah, I mean, normally when it comes to taking out these, I mean, I've got this box, I've pushed the actual metal foundation as far forward as I can. So I'm using a quetzal, so it's a common strategy. And the idea is, this should protect me from the actual flock. Not 100%, you'll still get knocked off. Hopefully I'll be able to get out of the actual box back on the saddle before I get targeted by a lightning strike and before it actually hits me and kills me. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, the strategy has been for... Oh, that was close. I've had that before and I just couldn't get it off, and the trouble is then the lightning attacks just kept coming. But the idea is we want to attract lightning to this node here, for example. So we're underneath the node, or at least trying to stay underneath the node. So the idea is this should keep us safe. Now, so there you go. So it's hit the node, so it makes it a bit easier. Now the only drawback is this thing, it moves around something ridiculously, and the quetzal, because the devs nerfed it and made it so slow, it's just terrible. You can't really keep up with this Titan. I mean, it actually goes really, really slowly. It's a very, very slow Titan, like most of them are. But the trouble is, it's a case of it's just so quicker than the actual quetzal, because the quetzal itself is just ridiculously slow. So it takes... You've got to practically sprint most of the time when you're actually around this thing to keep up with it, or at least to try to keep up with it. Part of the problem is, like I was saying, if this gets a lightning strike or any damage and it's not on the node will close up. So then you've got to get another lightning strike. It's an odd one, I must admit. I don't think I get that with any of the other dinos. Just see that hits. So yeah, so the first node's usually not the height. So yeah, we must have missed. So it's closed the node up. But yeah, the first node's not too bad. It's the subsequent ones, because that's when it starts to move around a lot more. Or at least I've found anyway. The other problem I'm finding is, I mean, we're out here at the minute, and more or less just camped out underneath the actual wing. The lightning strikes, though, I get very, very few lightning strikes, especially when we get towards that tail node. I just was not getting any at all. Oop, I'm stuck. Oh no, this doesn't help. If I'm stuck inside the Titan, it's not going to help anybody. That was another problem, was just getting stuck inside it. But yeah, I must admit, I spent about like 4 hours and eventually it despawned. I had to go away, take a break. I came back and it had despawned. And like I said, I did find some sort of technique which seemed to help, because from what I could tell, as long as I was staying above the wing or above the actual Titan, then I was getting the lightning strikes. Whereas if I stay above, below it like I am here, because here I'm safe, except from the flock. So this is ideally where I want to be. I just want to keep these lightning strikes coming to here, then instead of hitting me, it'll actually hit the node. But for whatever reason, I've just seemed to break down. The process, the mechanics just didn't work. Oh, it stopped moving. Oh, that's another unfortunate habit I found. I kept pressing the left mouse key. So that'll get a lightning strike there. We'll miss the node. And unfortunately it means that the node will then close, so we've got to then get it back on target again. Right, so it's not targeting anymore. Right, so that's one lightning strike done. So it's closed up now, so we've got to wait for more lightning to come down. But this does seem to work, at least for the first, probably like the first 2 nodes. Because where I'm at the minute, I am actually getting targeted by lightning. Once we get to the 3rd node, I mean, I've seen other YouTubers do it, and I mean, I've done it myself in the past. But for whatever reason, when we get to the 3rd node, for me at least, the lightning strikes just stopped. There was just none. Oop. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem where sometimes I literally get stuck inside the wing. Somehow it can glitch through the wing, which kind of makes sense, I suppose, because the actual Titan itself will glitch through the actual beacon, which is a bit bizarre. Oh, that's one of the reasons why I don't like doing it on top, because if you go above, you're susceptible to the lightning strikes if you don't get out of the way in time. But you're also, once you take that first node out, you're more at risk of the actual... Ah, I've done it again. Ah, this is annoying, this. I'm changing the gamma settings incidentally, because I noticed you can't necessarily see it as well as I do if I don't change the gamma settings. Ah, right. Whoa, finally. Now I'm going to get out of the way because it tends to do like a barrel roll at that point. So you can take quite a bit of damage there. Right, so that's the first node out the way. Now I think it's at this point we're now onto the other wing. But what it does then, you can still stick to the same sort of like strategy. But I'm more inclined to stay below the actual... Oh, now it's going to do its barrel. Oh, no, it's not. It's doing its tail swipe. Yeah, so you can stick below the wing. I'll still get lightning strikes. It's only when we get to doing the tail node for some strange reason. I honestly, I don't know why. I don't remember having this problem myself. I think I'll go back over my original playthrough when I did it when ARK Extinction first came out. Because I've seen it in other people's YouTube, and they don't have that same problem as I do. They've just repeated this same process for every node, and it's all just gone swimmingly to plan. So I don't know whether, as I say, something's just suddenly changed, or whether it's just sheer bad luck. Because once we get to this point, as far as I'm aware, it's going to spend more time crashing around with that tail than it is actually bringing lightning strikes down, I've noticed. And it actually hits wherever, you know, on whichever side you happen to be on. So I think what it does, it goes through the tail swipes, and then it'll start going through the lightning strikes. But they're a lot less frequent now, probably because we've got that extra mechanic. Oh, see, I'm stuck in the wing again. Somehow I've managed to glitch into the wing. Now, when I get hit, what happens then is the quetzal sort of like tends to try and land, if you will. So you've got to get it out of that landing position. The trouble is, what I'm sometimes finding is that the quetzal doesn't actually do that. It just stays in that strange kind of like gliding position. So even if I do press the space bar, it just doesn't get out of it, and the only way out is for me to literally get off the saddle, jump, and wait for it to follow me down. Because otherwise it just, it will then land, you see, at that point. But otherwise it's in this kind of quasi state where it kind of wants to land but it can't land or something. It's really weird. So it's just something that I'm having to like bear in mind while I'm this close to the with the quetzal and the tank. And it's very frequent if you get hit. Look, stay still. Stay. Ow. Well, at least we got rid of the second node. Right, so that's two nodes down. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting, because last time I tried it, I could not get the lightning strikes from underneath. If I was underneath the actual Titan, I wasn't getting any lightning strikes whatsoever. They only occurred if I was at a height above it, in which case then I was susceptible to the actual tail swipe. And the problem then was that it was moving around so much that I would open up the node, but then it would be constantly hitting itself with its tail. And the problem was, well, that was it. You know, the node's open, then all of a sudden it's closed again, and I just wasn't getting enough like lightning strikes to be able to do any damage. So yeah, I was getting the node open, but I just wasn't getting any actual damage. So try this again for the next 10 minutes. So there's the node's about just underneath there, so it's where the tail meets the main body. So just out of curiosity, see if it's any different, because I'm just going to hang around here. Now last time I tried it, like I say, I just didn't get any lightning strikes at all, which to me suggests there's something changed. I think it's about there. Probably slightly further forward. Because you can see the veins coming down. So we still get targeted by the flock. And I'm just going to keep an eye on the clock just to see, out of curiosity, as I say, if we do get any lightning strikes, because before I just wasn't getting any. Right, so what I'm going to do then, I'm just not getting any, nothing, zip, nada. So I'll come up to here, up to height. We'll start seeing if we suddenly start getting a light, there you go. So, I don't know, it's just, I don't remember this, and I haven't, you know, when I've seen other people do this same strategy, it doesn't happen to them. So honestly, I don't know what's going on. So that the challenge here is to stay out of the way of that tail swipe. Now, if it decides to move, I'm stuffed because it's gonna start doing its lightning strikes again. It's tail swipe. See, see, that's what I didn't want. If it just suddenly, yeah. See, I'm literally stuck. I can't get the quetzal to move. So that's another broken game aspect, I suppose, is that the quetzal got stuck. It literally got hit, and now what it's done is it'll have landed on the floor. And I've no idea where it is. So it just started to drift somewhere. It went into a kind of a glide. Oh, there you are. Yeah, it goes into this weird glide at that point, and I cannot control it. I can't do anything. If it was going to land, it should literally land. You'd expect it to land rapidly, but it doesn't. It just kind of goes through treacle in effect. So it's, yeah, it starts getting far more complicated, I think, than it should be. I could understand maybe, well, I don't understand why it would, like a tail swipe, unless it's a stun. I suppose you could think of it from that perspective. A tail swipe is the equivalent of a stun. So it's taken a hit and it's just kind of like knocked it out or something. Ah. So what I really need is for this to make its mind up where it's going to go. Go there and just stay there for a while. Right, looks as though it's stopped. So let's try that then. Right, no lightning. I mean, if it's not going to target me with lightning, it's kind of pointless, really. So I must admit, it doesn't always work. I don't necessarily always get targeted by lightning, so I've literally no idea what's going on. I don't know whether it's broken or what. And now I'm getting targeted by lightning. Yeah, it's a bit deceptive because you'll see it kind of dip a bit, so it's kind of facing it at an angle. So it does all these tail swipes and eventually it comes to a stop like that. The question then is whether it's going to stop like that for a while. Because if it does, then where's the lightning strikes to help me? I mean, without the lightning strikes you can't get that node open. I mean, I'm actually above it. So before I was below it, now I'm above it. Now this is going to be as bad as it was before, where I just don't have any lightning strikes coming at me. It's got me a bit puzzled. Because if I'm too far out, the problem is I can't sprint in time to actually get it to drop the lightning on the node. And that's completely pointless. Ah, so now it's deciding. Ah, and then it decides to move. Ah. So to me, I think the only way to do it is if you can get it when it's actually staying stationary for quite a while. And when it does, you can see it. It kind of rests like that with a tail down. But I've got to sit here twiddling my thumbs, wondering if I'm going to... right now I'm going to get... A, am I going to get any lightning? And B, is it going to suddenly start moving again? Because if it starts moving again, it's kind of pointless. At least to me it is. So I'm just going to hover above the node. Because even though I can get one hit, it's at least something. Nah, not even close. So it all seems to be coming down to how much time I'm getting available for it to stay still, I think. And now it's moving again, so yeah. It's obviously a lot easier when there's more of you. And I can only assume, based on previous experience and other people's videos, that this wasn't there before, where you couldn't get any lightning strikes if you were below. Let's try that one. I think it was something like 8 swipes up. Oh, jeez Louise. I think it was something like 8 swipes of its tail or something, and then it would stop, but yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. Every time I think I've kind of like got something that'll work, it just like, yeah, something changes. It's like, no, it's not that way. It's got to be something different. Ah, hang on. Was that it? Oh. Hang on, because I didn't see the actual node go, but I'm not seeing any corruption. It just suddenly went very, very quiet for some strange reason. Hello? Yay! Haha! Oh, thank goodness for that. Jeez Louise, that just took forever and a day. Where's my quetzal? Because I went all the way back over to there to get the quetzal healed. So, because I knew this was going to take forever, so I brought along a splash. Now, why are you not following me, mate? Oh, that's why I must have turned. Oh, I must have turned off the following when I got over there, so I could get the deer done. Jeez Louise, this just took forever. So I mean, you've got to have the patience of a saint. Oh, this mechanic used to work fine. I seriously don't know what the heck happened there, because it's like, it's as if it works for the the wing nodes, but it doesn't work for the node on the tail. For some reason, if I'm underneath it, it just refuses to bring any lightning down. So I'm having to basically, demonstrate my patience by waiting for it to, well, wait, because it'll pace backwards and forwards, and eventually it'll go somewhere and it'll just stop. Strip, I'm just so glad I brought Splash over there. Otherwise I might never have gotten this done. Jeez Louise. Right. Come here. I may as well take them. Oh! Hang on. That's awkward. Hang on, what the heck's going on here? Oh, that's strange. I mean, I've got Chump over there keeping an eye on the place, but it's oh no, you don't follow me. You follow me, mate. I want the quetzal following me. This it would have probably gone a lot better and a lot less hassle. It would have still taken forever. Just because of the fact that I've got to wait to get the opportunity, because there's times where literally I was waiting for the lightning and none came. There was times where it was a case of I literally got over the node, and because that thing was just quiet as a mouse doing nothing, and yet there was just no lightning, and then all of a sudden it just suddenly decides to wake up. So it's a case of, as far as I can tell, the way I've, after like 2 4-hour sessions basically, you can take out the front wing nodes, you can fly underneath. The only trouble is you've got to be careful not to glitch through, because if you use this is actually quite good in the sense that most of the time you won't get knocked off your flyer. Most of the time. Sometimes you will, and you'll have to be prepared for that, in which case it's a case of you'll have to quickly try and get out of that box. I don't even think the actual door is necessary, to be honest, but because I know there was one of them, I actually destroyed the door by accident. I put a wall in by mistake and I lost the door and I forgot to replace it. But yeah, it's a case of sometimes by having that box, it is very useful for keeping things out of the way to protect you from the flock. Because the flock it doesn't just knock you off your tame, it'll actually do quite a bit of damage to you. Clear that thorny dragon out of the way. So I suppose it is useful. The only downside is it's very easy to glitch through the wing. If you glitch through the wing, what will then happen is it's like treacle. Trying to get out is extremely difficult. You're going to be kind of like pretty much hoping you'll get out before you get struck by lightning or by the tail, for example. In which case, in hindsight, I should have really get myself some decent saddles, because these I've got 4 of them. I bred 4 of them. They're all fully imprinted. Nothing flash about them. I don't remember getting any mutations at all on these. At least nothing important. Yeah, so I started with Beaker, and then I got that one. So I tamed her out in the wild. So then I eventually did get an actual female, which is Queenie Mark II. So I bred her back with Beaker. So that's where we've started getting these 275s at some point. I think it's from these two. So I ended up with a female breeder and the one I called Narco Junkie, because he was the one. He was the one I got. I think off these two maybe. I can never remember the ordering, but at some point I got a quetzal. And it was a case of I ended up having to wait ages until I eventually got 2 of them level 217s. So it's like, yeah, it takes forever. But anyway, they've got hardly anything, because Beaker, well, I leveled him up to level 270, but he wasn't at a particularly high level. Probably somewhere around that, I would imagine. Or possibly 217 then. But either way, we got a relatively low female to go with him. Breed them together, and I didn't get any mutations or anything in the process, because I was just interested in getting some quetzals basically. But yeah, I think it would be a lot better, and it would be a lot easier if you get a decent saddle. Just for whatever reason, I just didn't keep any along the way. I think I completely forgot about those for some reason. I think I was banking on this particular strategy where you just go under the wing and let the lightning hit the actual Desert Titan, and that way it doesn't really matter. You don't need high health or anything. You just need the stamina to stay in the air, because there's still going to be times where you've got to sprint out the way of things. Trying to keep up with that was a real pain, but that strategy kind of worked for the 2 wing nodes, but it just didn't work at all for the tail node. for whatever reason, I think that the actual devs have done something to take that opportunity away. In which case, my only option I could see was to basically just go backwards and forwards, trying to follow the Desert Titan until it actually stopped. So sometimes it stops for just a very brief period of time, so you've got to be prepared to literally dash out the way, because if all you do is get one strike in, it'll close up and you'll be back to square one. So you've got to wait for those rare opportunities when it stops for quite a while. And what I was finding for me is just basically shadowing along for most of the journey, staying out of the way, you know, around about, say, here somewhere. Sometimes I did still get hit, but eventually it'll stop. I can't quite tell now when it does, because there were times where its tail was pointing towards the ground, but there were times where it wasn't. So I got to the point I was just taking advantage of every opportunity I could, and then it was going to be a case of literally cycling through all 4 of these quetzals that I had, and I literally got down to the last 4th one, and I had to come back here and get Splash over there to heal this one up. So fortunately that was enough. But yeah, shadowing along, and then eventually when it does stop, hopefully it'll stop for a while, then it's a case of hover over here, over where the corrupted node is, and try and line it up, and then as soon as you get the countdown hit 0, just turn around and then just come back again. If you're lucky, you'll end up with that relatively long time gap, and you might get about 2 or 3, you know, strikes in. So just literally just keep turning around. That's how I found it worked. The problem with the wing nodes I was finding was, as I say, that having this box on, while it protects me from the actual the flock, the problem is there are times where it'll actually glitch through. As I say, I don't know whether the quetzal literally drifts up, or whether it looks as though it's drifting up closer and closer. But once you get stuck in there, it's like treacle, and sometimes you end up where, I mean, this thing's moving and you're moving backwards while it's moving forwards. You can't keep up with it, and you'll either get hit by the tail, or you'll get maybe struck by lightning, and you just barely can move. So yeah, it's interesting. So I would suggest bringing quite a few quetzals along. They don't have to be wonderful, because Beaker was just a A140, I think, or a 140. I think Beaker must have been a 145. I'll have to check the video, but I think he was a 145 when I got him in the wild, and that's it. The next one, I just picked a female that I found in the wild out here in Extinction, expecting things to go a lot better than this. But I've done okay, I think. It just took so long. Probably would have been better, as I say, if I'd had better saddles. But, oh, Struth. Now, the only thing is that annoying battle music won't shut up, so it's going to be a case of, I should be able to get this thing back to where the other Titans are, assuming they're still alive, because if you look on the map, you can see the Forest Titans up there. I suspect the Ice Titans either despawned, or I need to go back to get it to respawn. I know. Okay. But at least I can get this thing back up there quicker. And then, the plan is, we'll be taking on the King Titan. But I'm certainly going to be restarting this server, because the music's just really getting on my nerves. So, the King Titan's next. That's for another episode.